AM 1430 KRGI, 105.5 FM. Good morning. I'm Brian Gallagher, a guest in studio from Central District Health Department. Mike Bachhoven has come by to talk about something all of us need to be aware of and involved in one way or another. Immunizations.
Yes, sir. So the reason, thanks for having us on. The World Immunization Week is next week, and that's one of those big global things where they start talking about how important vaccinations are across the board. But what I wanted to kind of focus on locally a little bit is one of those things that makes it hard to talk about public health sometimes is that we're trying to prove a negative, right? You know, some people will say things like vaccines save millions of lives a year. This is something that is true, but you're not curing a disease, you're preventing it, right? So when you talk about prevention, sometimes that can be a little bit harder to make an impact, right? So when we talk about World Immunization Day, what we're talking about is huge numbers, a cheap and effective health intervention, and just one of the best things you can do for your health, but it's not sexy, for lack of a better term. You know what I mean?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, there is the big effort for Rotary, and this is something we just, did some work for them. One of their big world efforts is the eradication of polio.
Yeah.
And they are this close to having that go away. But there's always that one little virus that pops up again, and it typically is in an underdeveloped country. They don't have access to a lot of the medicines or immunizations that we try to do to head off a lot of these things, but they're close. But the other things, like flu, as we discovered over the last few years, COVID.
Yeah.
All of the different things that are out there that can be prevented or at least give you a level of prevention.
Right.
These are important to have in your regular cycle because otherwise you leave yourself susceptible to being the next patient or even worse, a victim.
Yeah, that's very well put. And, there are a couple different buckets that you can talk about that. You start off with kids, and kids, obviously, there are rules if they want to go to school. You get immunizations. That's fine. You were talking about polio. Vaccines, one of the big talking points from World Immunization Week is that vaccines make it possible to eradicate disease, not sometimes you look at something like, COVID and it's like, well, that's going to be with us forever. And yeah, the flu will be with us forever. Yeah. But something like polio, something like measles, those things barely exist anymore in this country, largely because of vaccinations. And when you stop and think about that and about the impact that those diseases could have on our population, it's fantastic to think about.
They're trying to do what they can. So Immunization Week coming up next week.
Yes, that's next week.
So are there some education things that folks can look at just in case they do have a question?
Yeah, thank you. We have a Q&A part on our website, which is cdhd.ne.gov, that talks about safety, talks about school vaccination for kids, just basically a lot of those questions that we get at the health department every day, every week, whenever it is. So commonly asked questions, and if you don't see the information there that you need, we have a couple people who absolutely love to talk to you about what the schedule is, how to get what you need, and to go from there.
So they do have answers to your questions, but just in case your questions go deeper, visit with your healthcare provider. But they may refer you back to the health department because of the work that they do, especially for the grand populace. But there's a lot of online resources available, and that you can get the real answers out there and really be able to make sure that you're doing the right things for those in your life.
Yep, I always recommend talking to your health professional if you have somebody that knows their stuff and that you have gone to. Listen to them, and chances are pretty good what we're saying and what they're saying are going to line up.
Immunization Week is next week, so get prepared and make sure that you are up to date. If you do have questions, give the health department a call. What number should they use?
Yes, we are at 308-385-5175, and we're online at cdhd.ne.gov.
Mike Bachhoven from Central District Health Department. Always a pleasure.
Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good morning from AM 1430 KRGI 105.5 FM.